Hey guys, it's Charnay here, and I just wanted to jump on really quick. I'm out running a few errands in this rain, but to talk a little bit about what's really going on with the LAUSD Teacher Strike involving our UTLA teachers. So I have been an educator for the past 20 years. 10 years of that I spent as in a high school teacher, and then 7 years I was a school administrator, and in between a really active parent advocate. And so I've had the opportunity to kind of sit on both sides of the table when it comes to, the argument of what students need, what schools need, what are administrators doing, what are teachers doing, what are they not doing, and all this and that. And so I just really want to come on and kind of encourage parents to stand up and advocate for your children. And there's been so many mixed messages coming out on Facebook about attendance and punishment if kids don't come to school. There's been a huge debate, I know, on one of my school's pages about parents appear to be bashing and hoping for a strike, and instead of doing that, we should be supporting our district because this is the district that our kids are in and things like that. And I totally agree, and I just want to kind of come across with the idea that I don't think anybody wants a strike. It's not good for any of us. It's definitely not good for kids. It's not good for the educators that are striking. It's not good for the administrators and support staff that are at school without teachers. It's not good for parents who are torn, as to, well, what do I do? Do I send my kid to school? Do I keep them home? Do I let them go out and walk with their teachers? And there is no right or wrong answer to that question. I think it is a personal decision, and it falls within what your beliefs are. And so, for example, I've talked to quite a few parents who were concerned about not sending their kid to school because, their kid has maintained perfect attendance since they started school. It could be kindergarten, second grade, whatever the case may be. And for some people, that's a major accomplishment. Like, my kid has been to school every single day, every single school day. And that's something that they hold near and dear to their heart. And I applaud that, because there are not a lot of kids who can say they've done that. But then I want to ask, and now what? Your kid has been to school every single day, has maintained perfect attendance. That's great. But what are you celebrating? A kid being at a school that lacks resources. They're not getting the best possible education and delivery of curriculum that they possibly could. The student sitting next to them is struggling. The teacher is overwhelmed, overworked. It's like, what are you really celebrating? And I definitely don't want to take that accomplishment away from any child who has done it, but you have to really look at the entire picture, the bigger perspective. And that is, what is it that we're celebrating? And now that you have this perfect attendance, what difference is it going to make if next year, you're going to be in a class of 50 kids and you're there every day, but you're not learning anything? And so, I just really want to broaden parents' perspectives. And we can't look at this as a me issue, because this is not about me. This is not about my child. This is not about your child. This is about all the children in LAUSD. This is about all of the teachers and all of the educators. While we as parents are struggling with our own independent challenges, a lot of parents, they'll say it very snarky, like, well, I don't have the luxury of taking off from work and staying home with my kids. Well, I appreciate that, but our teachers don't have the luxury of not being paid to do a job that they're supposed to be doing. I have friends where both the husband and the wife are teachers. And so that means that neither one of them are collecting income during these days when they're off. And so, I can't say selfishly, well, I can't afford to. Well, they're fighting for our kids. so, yes, I can afford to sacrifice if someone else is willing to sacrifice for my child. And we have to think about, this is a short-term sacrifice for a long-term solution. It's been 30 years since there was a strike. And it's been the 30 long years because there's been struggles throughout LAUSD for many of those years. And people behind the scenes have worked really hard to prevent the strike from happening. And a lot of parents had no clue that this was even going on. I mean, there's still parents today who are like, okay, what's going on with the strike? They didn't even realize it until they went to take their kid to school yesterday and saw something going on. You know, we have to be out front and not take for granted the education that our kids are receiving. I put a post up earlier this week that talked about kids who attend great schools and how parents, we definitely take that for granted, and we have this faith that, oh, my kid's okay because I put them in a good school. And, you know, even personally, we decided to move into a community because of what we thought was a good school. And our kids went to elementary school at this good school, and for the most part it was okay. But when it came time for Sean, we had to be a little bit more in their face, because how things were okay with the girls, it wasn't the same case for him. And so it took a little bit more elbow grease for Daddy and I to be up in the face of the school and say, hey, wait a minute, this is what our child needs and this is what you need to get him. And then similarly, the girls went to middle school, everything was fine. They transitioned to high school, what I thought was, you know, the best thing since sliced bread, until I had the opportunity to become an employee and saw behind the scenes just how, you know, they say you pull the wool over the sheep's eye. Well, that's what's going on, and that's what's going on in a lot of schools. And it wasn't until I attended a meeting and the college counselor was there making the presentation and talking about the graduation requirements. And this happened to be a parent meeting for African American parents, or parents of African American students. And when she was going over the graduation requirements, and at this time I was at a different school, and I was like, wait a minute, something's not matching up. And what I came to realize was that the school's graduation requirements were not the same were not the same A through G requirements that students would need to complete in order to be eligible for a Cal State or a UC. And that was a problem for me. Not because, you know, my child had aspirations of going to a Cal State or a UC, but because any wish that she may have had or develop in the near future, she wasn't eligible for, because she was allowed to check out of foreign language classes, because foreign language was not a graduation requirement. Therefore, she felt like, oh, well, I don't need to take this class. I'm struggling in it. I'm not going to take it. And I wasn't even notified when that happened. And so that began to open my eyes. And ever since then, I've become a more hands-on parent. And ultimately, like I said, ended up getting a job there. But we cannot take for granted that everything is okay at the schools where we're sending our children. And so we have to stop listening to what everybody else is saying or everyone is complaining about. And instead, we need to begin to do our own research and ask our own questions and go and look and seek and find out for ourselves. And so circling back to this entire attendance issue, you know, as parents, we shouldn't be convincing each other to send our kid to school or to keep our kids home during this strike. Everybody has to make their own decisions based on their own beliefs. I just ask that the decisions you make are based upon facts, because there are a lot of rumors, you know, still circulating around about, well, I'm going to send my kids to school even though they don't want to go to school, but they're 8th grader, and, you know, we've heard that they won't be allowed to participate in culmination activities if they don't show up to school. And I'm like, okay, it sounds believable, but at the same time, as a parent, you need to understand that you have the right to advocate for your child no matter what the circumstance may be. So if there were a group of parents who decided to keep their kids home, and they were 8th graders, because of the strike, and later on, the school officials came back and said, oh, I'm sorry, your child is not eligible to participate. You mean to tell me that there wouldn't be a group of parents willing to join together to advocate for those kids because they stood up to advocate for their own education? Fortunately, that won't be the case because, we have been assured by LAUSD, by UTLA, that there'll be no retaliation for students and parents who participate in the strike activities. But even so, I encourage you to become that advocate for your child, no matter what the case is. And so, it's day 2. Our UTLA members march down to the charter school headquarters of downtown LA. I believe tomorrow everyone's going to be in their local areas. And, it is my hope that if nothing else comes out of this strike, parents understand that they need to know what's going on with their child's education. So if you haven't had a chance to grab your free copy of the Parent Survival Guide to the LAUSD strike, you can grab it at bit.ly, that's bit.ly/Parent Survival Guide 2019. You can download a copy of the ebook for free and then join the mailing list where I'll be sending out emails at the end of every day, just kind of recapping and letting everyone know any new information that has come up regarding the strike. We sent out the first email last night, and it talked a lot about attendance and a lot of the concerns regarding attendance and how every parent needs to log into their LAUSD parent portal to make sure that your child's attendance was reported accurately yesterday. So if you didn't get that email, go ahead and go to bit.ly/Parent Survival Guide 2019 and Parent Guide to Strike 2019, and I'll make sure that you get that email from last night and you'll get tonight's email. As always, please know that you are your child's greatest advocate, and have a great rest of the day. Bye for now.